All right, it looks like we're ready. With attention spans shrinking and devices, apps, sites, content, channels, everything's exploding. Being relevant in the moment is more important than ever. The challenge for marketers, especially ones trying to become the next Uber or Seamless, is how to stay relevant in a world where people's expectations are defined by a new era of at your service. In the next session, Ben Jones, creative director at Google, will share some of Google's art, copy, and code team's latest brand collaborations and provide a sneak peek at some never-been-done experiences. From what I hear and talking to him backstage, this is going to be an exciting presentation. So please join me in welcoming Ben to the stage.
All right. I'm glad to see all you guys here. I hope you have digested your food. We're going to get up and do some calisthenics for a few minutes, and then we'll start. No, we won't do that. My name is Ben Jones. I'm a creative director at Google. My job is to work with brands and agencies to make you guys famous and your clients successful, or vice versa. And so all of the things that we do are in service of helping the sort of ecosystem get better, helping you do better work, helping your clients do better work, and helping us all be more successful. I work on a team called Art, Copy, and Code that is focused on the future of advertising. And we see our mission as focused on what will advertising be in 5 years? And the answer to that is none of us know. You don't know. Your clients don't know. Agencies don't know. If you're telling your clients, you're wrong. We're all wrong. None of us know. I thought when I started at Google, they would let me inside the volcanic chamber, with the teleportation pads and the telepathy helmets, and they'd be like, okay, here's the future. And what I learned is that we don't know. None of us know. And so our team is focused on what can we do in the next 3 to 6 months? What can we make? How do we learn in the market? How do we learn by doing? How do we get data? How do we experiment, but at scale in a way that's going to be meaningful for defining that future 5 years out? So the stuff that I'm going to show you are 3 brand collaborations that we've done over the last 12 months exploring the space of real time. Google, as I think you may know, we're good with the deep libraries of content, but a man much smarter than me said the future of content is a thin layer of live and deep, deep, deep libraries. So we got the libraries part covered, but we don't really have the live part covered. And so these experiments are an attempt to explore that space. How do we think about that space? The place where we start is thinking about how the world has changed and what that world means, the world that we live in. We think in terms of abundance world. So when we started, the Zenith TV set, I had that Zenith TV set, by the way. And if you're from Boston, you know the 2 UHF channels that matter, channel 38 and channel 56, right? That's right, that's right. Cartoons all the time, cartoons all the time. When we grew up in a world that was formed from those channels and we learned to plan media based on those, we were living in a world of media scarcity. So you could plan against a scale audience in a fairly straightforward way. And all of the media that we designed was designed for that world of scarcity. But now, it's millions of channels, it's every device, it's all the time. It's not sitting on the couch in front of your TV, it's a phone wherever you are, whatever you're looking at. And I think it's simplistic to say, oh, well, used to be TV channels and now we need to plan differently. But a stat that I heard recently that blew my mind is that our screen time has doubled in the last 2 years. Think about that. This is not about 20 years ago. This is about now. This is about this year and last year and the year before. Our screen time has doubled. And so how do we approach all of these screens and all of this time, the time that we're spending, what we want, and what we're consuming? At Google, we think in terms of choice plus immersion. Choice plus immersion. I think that there's a false model we have in our head that this digital world means everything is faster. It's faster, it's faster, it's faster. My tweet is 140 characters. My Snapchat goes away in 10 seconds. I'm posting emojis because I don't even have time for words. But that's not right. Because if you look across media, that is actually not the experience of media. For example, feature films are getting longer year over year, 10 minutes on average over the last 5 years. Poor George R.R. Martin has written 6,000 pages of A Song of Fire and Ice, Game of Thrones, and he gets hate mail from people because he's blogging or he's doing interviews. They're like, finish the books before you die. We want 6,000 pages of content. I don't know how many of you may or may not have binged watched House of Cards all the way through in a weekend. Yeah? Anyone? Yes, I know you're out there. and then watch The Jinx start to finish, binge watch that, and now Game of Thrones is coming. We have no problem with length. We are happy to spend 6 hours, 10 hours, 30 hours on a marathon. It is the thing that we want. And so this model that digital is about faster and brands need to be faster is a false one. It isn't that things need to be faster, it's that things need to be chosen. And the thing that we choose, we have much more powerful tools than we've ever had to consume more of it, consume only it, and block out all other things. So we want to choose the things that we want, and we want to immerse very deeply in those things, and everything else we want to ignore, right? Where we can tune it out incredibly powerfully. And the challenge for brands is to say, not, oh my God, how are we going to avoid being tuned out, right? That's a mindset we have from the scarcity world. We're going to jam our message in quicker and quicker and quicker before you tune us out. Guess what? You're tuned out. People have tuned you out already. You're out. And so how do you get chosen? And if you get chosen, how do you allow people to immerse? And in the current advertising world, we're bad at both of these. We're bad at getting chosen, although we're getting better. And we're bad at immersion. What happens when your TV commercial works, when your print ad works, when I'm moved, when I watched your short film and I'm sobbing and my heart is full with emotion and I love it? And then what do I get? A minute of B-roll that you shot as a leftover idea? I want to go deep. I want to believe. I want to seek out all of these stories. And so we think the future of content and therefore advertising is choice plus immersion and finding ways for your brand to live. For us, that manifests in this idea that the moment is the message. The moment is the message. What does that mean? It means experiences choreographed into my context is the message. And that may be content, it may be service, it may be a social experience. We don't know what that is. The openness of what that experience is remains to be defined. I don't think it's going to be one thing. I think it's going to be a lot of things. But the moment is the message. Experiences choreographed into context is the future. What is your real-time moment? So we think about real-time. What does that mean if I'm connecting to a real-time event? My brand is trying to live in real time. What is the power of that real-time moment? We see a 10x search lift, 10x in the moment, right? When a brand hits you, or there is a moment in culture, in media, we see this incredibly powerful search lift, 10x, right? A tremendous result for any of your brands, for any of your projects or campaigns, and it lasts about 10 minutes. That is your real-time moment, 10x search lift that lasts 10 minutes. And all of the talk about brand building and where we are, when you're thinking in terms of real time, that is your moment, extraordinarily powerful, but also extraordinarily focused. So let me show you some of the ways that we at Google have been exploring this with some terrific brand and agency partners. This just, is an example of that. These are auto ads during the Super Bowl. This is search data for a major advertiser. He wanted to see the impact on search for running a beautiful, beautiful TV commercial. And this is it. You can see the lift above the baseline lasts about 10 minutes. So incredibly powerful in that moment, and 10 minutes later, you're back at baseline, your $2 million Super Bowl spot. How many people are concentrating on that moment and thinking about that moment and the power of that moment to deliver on behalf of the brand? All right, so project one, celebration in real time. We had the good fortune of working with Nike and Wieden and Kennedy on the World Cup last year. This is a thing we knew going in, right? 84% of smartphone and tablet users are on them as they're watching TV, or, for example, a speaker at a conference. I think it's at least 84% of you just from a straw poll. But what are we doing? What do we want? What is happening in that moment when I'm watching a thing like the World Cup that I'm incredibly passionate about, that I love, that I'm super excited about? We want this experience, right? We want to be with Neymar. We want to be up close. We want to be embedded. As we were doing research headed into the World Cup, we thought, what is Google's opportunity to help Nike around the World Cup? And we thought it was going to be before and after, right? Research on the players, player profiles, YouTube videos, et cetera, and then after the game was over, after you'd finished watching, then there would be this opportunity for extra content, for breakdowns, for that additional immersive information. This is what we found. This is search traffic during the game, and the yellow is mobile and the blue is desktop. And what we saw is people who are watching the game are searching about content on that game, about that game. This is the choice plus immersion model. It's not that I want to do 100 things at once. It's that the thing that I want so much of, I'm so hungry for it, that I want to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And every time there's a powerful moment in the game, this huge spike of traffic. Think about this. This is the game that you are watching. And what are you searching for? What happened? How are other people reacting? What are other people's opinions of this? Trying to get all of these perspectives at once. It isn't that I want another thing and another thing and another thing to pay attention to. It's more on that thing. And this hunger to go deep is this incredibly powerful brand opportunity where we see brands have a great chance to win. This is what we did with these guys.
This summer, Google teamed up with Nike for a new take on watching live sports. Just seconds after a Nike athlete had a big play on this screen, Nike lit up these screens with ads that appeared across the Google Display Network, inviting fans to remix the action as it unfolded. They explored 3D versions of their favorite Nike athletes and created their own digital poster, personalized with headlines, stickers, and filters. Then shared it with their friends. Unforgettable moments from Nike athletes, remixed in real time and shared around the world.
So this is a breakdown of that experience, right? 135, Neymar scores a goal. 136, the entire GDN lights up with ads featuring Neymar and that goal, and the opportunity for you to create your own 3D poster of it to share out with your friends, and for the opportunity to share those over time. Here was the interesting thing that we found out in the game. Extraordinarily powerful to turn on when Neymar scores a goal. But Neymar gets knocked out of the game, and guess what? You don't want your Neymar ads live anymore. It's actually damaging to your brand to be seeing these ads that feature Neymar after he's been injured, and you're sad about that. Your team has gotten knocked out. And this was a very powerful lesson for Nike, because guess what? In the finals, none of the major Nike athletes were featured. Because of the way that the eliminations happened, all of the Nike athletes got knocked out early, and in the finals, they actually did not have that many athletes. And so, again, the ability to turn on and turn off were incredibly powerful. At least as powerful to turn off as to turn on. Results, 500,000 engagements and experience, 2.2 million athlete remixes, 200 participating countries. Again, within 10 seconds, live out across the world, truly a global moment, trying to hit that 10-minute window before the action shifts, the attention shifts, and there is no longer an opportunity for the brand to be relevant in that same way. Second experiment, learning from the Nike work, we started to work with EA Sports on football. So hopefully you remember us. Sorry in advance, Denver fans. Last year's Super Bowl, Peyton Manning did not have the best quarter. There was much rejoicing in the city of Boston, maybe not so much in other places. And within about 10 seconds, right, this was the internet. The entire thing lit up. Hello, Beyonce, we need a blackout. Omaha isn't working, now what? Et cetera, et cetera. This is what people want, right? I'm immersed in the moment, I'm immersed in the game, and I want to comment, I want to share, I want to have this experience. And so in working with EA Sports, we built a thing called the Giferator, which worked like this. So it's 28-0 in the Green Bay-San Francisco game, and this was not just about the creative, but the creative and media working together. So if you're in the San Francisco area or the Green Bay area, you were served an ad that was associated with your local teams. And it has a real-time game feed associated, and it's serving up GIFs that reflect that moment in the game. So it's 28-0 in that game. You get a GIF that reflects that. What this requires is obviously a tremendous coordination of assets and resources. So players from every single team, tagged to every single major situation in a game, working in conjunction with a live feed, so that if I see the ad, what I'm getting immediately is value, right? It isn't about a message, it's about the game score, whether I'm watching the game or not, and then the chance, if I want to immerse, to get chosen from value and then immerse. And here's how this functioned in the real world. So early in the season, the Vikings are playing the Patriots, and a friend of mine sends me this, and so I send this back. And then the game starts, right? And unfortunately, the Vikings score first, and I get that. And then Gronkowski gets a big first down. And then Chandler Jones blocks a punt and returns it for a touchdown. And here is where you start to see this new abundance world and the challenges that it poses for brands and agencies, because, as I'm sure you all noticed, that is not Chandler Jones. Despite the fact that we have 4 or 5 major players from every single NFL team in every situation with lines written for it, et cetera, there is no Chandler Jones because we don't have every single player. And as soon as you are in and you are building these creative systems and you are building these sort of real-time ability to participate in the game, suddenly you see, right, there's no Chandler Jones. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I could put his name in, but he's not there. Fortunately, then Will Fork got a sack and the game was essentially over. But you begin to see this incredible hunger that you have. As soon as I have a little, then I want a lot, and I want to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and I want the ability to participate very richly. This is the kind of creative system that it takes to bring that to life. It's separated layers with the real-time stats, dynamic headlines. We had a database of those coming together with camera control of backgrounds provided by EA Sports, and then other backgrounds, right? The fire, there was a spooky night, there was wind and snow, et cetera, 300,000 different combinations of ads. And what's important to note here is if you are making ads, if you are thinking about making an ad, it will immediately break in this world. You cannot make 300,000 ads to serve this. You need to create a system of creative assets that come together. And a system of creative assets requires a different kind of concepting. It requires a different kind of approval. It requires a different kind of understanding on the legal team side to say, how do you approve what goes in front? Is it all of the permutations? I will say I did a dynamic ad campaign for a pharmaceutical company who will remain nameless. They made us print out every single one of the 2,750 different permutations of their ad. This is not a viable path to the future. And so as you think about systems versus objects, you think about bringing creative to life, this is the kind of system that you need to think about, and it's a different kind of selling, a different kind of building, a different kind of deploying and measuring, et cetera, but very, very powerful. Very powerful. What we saw when we put this out also was that it immediately got adopted outside of NFL, right? Help, I'm being chased by words, or who's wearing deodorant? This guy. It turned out that a guy on YouTube ended up recreating music videos using just GIFs and lyrics. The Evanescence video actually is incredibly moving of the NFL players doing this stuff. But anyway, it blew up all over Tumblr. We actually had a guy creating manual ones. He sent us photos where he had written them on paper of the GIFs that he was creating, so it became totally non-digital. And you know when you have a campaign like this and it enters culture in that way, that you've struck a nerve and been successful in ways that are very powerful. Results, 1,250 ads served, 9 minutes spent in the experience, 400,000 user-generated GIFs. Would have gone longer, but we ran out of NFL season, and I'm hoping we'll be back next year. But you can start to see 9 minutes spent in an experience. It's incredibly powerful, incredibly interesting, and a lot of repeat usage because once people are in, they're in, and they're interested in going deep. And then the most recent of these, we did a project for the Oscars. So the Oscars, the Super Bowl for the rest of us, it's the second most watched TV event in the US. Incredibly powerful and also incredibly timely. And for this, we collaborated with BBH in LA and our own Google Play brand. So here we saw exactly the same spikes that I showed you with the Super Bowl ad, right? This is the 2015 top 10 films and stars after the announcement. Look at those spikes. About 10 minutes. I think for the Super Bowl spots, it was about 10. For here, it was about 12. Remarkably consistent in terms of the amount of time that we're engaged and the spike of those lifts. So what did we do? Again, there was an announcement, and within, now we got a little bit better. At the World Cup, it was 10 seconds. Here, it was about 0.2 of a second. Ads were out in real time. They were often updating before the news sites were even updated. So if I'm searching, I'm immediately seeing an ad that reflects the announcement that has just happened on the screen. And so it tracked through the course of the evening, right? J.K. Simmons wins for Best Supporting Actor for Whiplash, and then Selma wins for Best Song. And then Grand Budapest Hotel wins, and you can just sort of see as the cadence of the night goes on, these ads don't feel like ads. They feel like they're part of the content. They feel like they're woven into this evening of experience that I've had that is incredibly powerful and interesting. And for the things that I love, this is an extension of those things, right? I saw that. I love that song. I want to buy that song. I love that movie. I want to buy that movie. In that moment, I am ready to go deeper, to be more immersed, to be more connected to what is happening. Results here, 108 million impressions over the 3.5-hour event, 330,000 clicks. This is what's interesting. So an almost 20% click-through on the ads, which I think is extraordinarily powerful, was a huge result for us. But even more, the almost 60% increase in the searches for Google Play movies among those exposed to the campaign. So it was about a banner and the click-through that you got from a banner, but it was also about the fact that the banner drove a huge lift in search and that the purchasing from the search ended up actually delivering more revenue than the banner click-through. So one of our panelists before talked about banner blindness. I think we're registering more from the banners than we think. It's just, again, when we have this model that is like, I've interrupted you with a message, and then on my timeline, you're going to click through and you're going to have a commerce experience. That isn't necessarily true. People will pay attention to what they want to pay attention to. But weaving into the things that they care about in ways that are relevant and powerful, again, we see incredibly, incredibly powerful results. All right, so out of all of these experiments, this has become a major lane of work for us. Now is what's next. We see this real-time opportunity as extraordinarily ripe for brands and agencies. So what's the thing that hasn't been done? What's new? Well, I think that you see in all three of these examples, the content that's there is a reflection of the action, right? Neymar scores a goal. There's an ad with Neymar in it. It's 28-0 in the San Francisco 49ers game. And the GIF reflects 28-0. Oscar win, here is the Oscar thing that you just saw. What we haven't seen and what we don't understand is how we use that data and those real-time moments to weave news stories, to create transformative stories. And I think the power of the data that we have to understand who you are, where you are, the magic of your context, they are these extraordinary guns, these amazing guns. We've never had more powerful guns, but we have the same old bullets. Right? It's the same stories, and we're just pumping them into a different box. And when I work with media agencies and creative agencies, the more collaboration there is, the more evolution of the data that we understand from the media side and the storytelling that comes from the creative side, the more powerful those campaigns are. So the NFL campaign, that was a deep collaboration between the moments in the game and a media distribution system and the actual stories that came out, incredibly powerful. But the next generation of that, I think, is going to be even more amazing. And I think as we look out, we say data is waiting for its Scorsese, right? We're waiting for somebody who has an imagination that is big enough to capture this new kind of storytelling, this new way of making content. We don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. It's probably some kid down the street, some young Robert Rodriguez who's out in the desert right now with his phone, making a movie who's going to shock us all, amaze us all. We'll all be jealous of the work that they create. Here's hoping it's one of you. Here's hoping it's one of your brands, and next year we're back at this time talking about how awesome it was. Thank you very much for your time.